get started. All right, we're
I'm
here with Derek Michael Zanetti, the Homeless Gospel Choir.
Yeah. Reporting for duty.
I'm like trying to do the intro, but I feel like you could, yeah, if you want to introduce yourself, you do it like way better. So.
I want you to do it, Kane. I'm all the way in. I'm on board.
All right, yeah, this is Derek Michael Zanetti from the Homeless Gospel Choir. He is 30-something years old.
37.
37 years old now. And he's here with us to talk about, I guess, music and life and
sure,
everything. Whatever.
Man, my seatbelt has been fastened. I took a snack. I took all my pills. I'm ready to go for it. I'm ready. You got me for an hour.
Okay, so you grew up in a religious household, right?
Yes.
And it said that your punk awakening was Dookie by Green Day. So, but I want to know is, like, with things being so like restrictive of what you could and couldn't listen to, like, how did you get your hands on like that record?
That's such a wonderful question, Kanan. Thank you for asking it. I had to do some rebelling. I had to break out of the rules. My parents were very conservative evangelical Christians, and we weren't allowed to listen to the radio or watch certain movies, read certain magazines. There was very specific, very strict rules on the type of musics that you could listen to. But as like many conservative right-wing Republicans, my parents were also poor, so we went to public school. And I had friends that were into, you know, alternative music and skateboard culture and punk rock. And I can remember getting Green Day Dookie on cassette tape. And I obviously I knew what an album was, but you know, my experience with getting music and hearing music were just like singles or songs that were on the radio that I would sneak and I would hide and I would listen to. But my friend Jake gave me a cassette tape of Green Day Dookie, and it was the first time like I'd ever heard anything like it. I didn't know that punk existed. I had no idea about it, but there were these three people that had funny colored hair, and they were talking about what a bad time they were having. And how they didn't feel like life was being very fair to them or being very good to them. And they turn on the TV and they get nervous and worried about politics and the government, and their parents don't understand them and they feel awkward. And it was a message that resonated with me very much so. And I listened to that Green Day tape. Well, I had a clock radio, so I was able to hide tapes in my clock radio, and I had my headphones on, so I'd be able to listen to it. And when my parents were asleep, I would just have my headphones on, and I would listen to Dookie maybe 3 or 4 times every night before I went to bed for maybe a year. And I would just listen to it until I realized that on my radio, on my cassette, I had a clock radio with a cassette tape player on it. I could record, and I would make my own dubs off of the radio whenever they would have like the alternative hour on Sunday nights. Like, look out, kids, we're going to play brand new punk rock music from bands like Bad Religion and NoFX. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I got to know about it. So I would stay up super late, and I would be like, this is Bad Religion, and this is NoFX, and I would record them, and I would have my own tapes. And even bands that I didn't even like at the time, I didn't even know that I didn't like them. I just knew that they were alternative, and I knew that they were not of what my parents wanted me to listen to. And I was in with like 311 and Sublime and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, it's different, it's forbidden, so it has to be cool. And that's how I kind of went ahead, and I secretly for years and years and years pursued music that way. Well into high school, when I got caught in 11th grade with a Metallica CD, and they had the ministers come to my house and confiscate my music, and they had me like apologize and stuff. It was a wild trip. Yeah, it was wild.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's like, I mean, yeah, like in school, I remember them, like, you know, if you couldn't have like a CD or something, they would just take that away and then give it back to you at the end of the school day. But like to go to your house.
Oh, yeah, they came and they said, what do you think this message is trying to tell you? And I was like, I don't know. I don't have any friends because my parents believe in this super strange Christian thing, and I'm not allowed to do what other people are allowed to do. And all my friends listen to this music, and all my friends have long hair, and all my friends paint their nails, and all my friends wear black. And I just want to do it because I want to have friends. I didn't care about genre. I didn't care about, like, is this emo? Is this, whatever it happens to be. It didn't even come across my radar. I was like, my friends like this, and I just want to be able to talk to my friends about the things that we like together. And that's, punk rock and making those mixtapes was a big way, because you get to come to the conversation. Before, I'm just watching it from afar. Y'all are having this conversation about this super secret elite thing that I don't know about until I listen to the Misfits for myself, and I'm like, I know that song. And then I get to have a friend, and I get to be a part of the conversation. So I think desperately, more than anything else, that I wanted to make my own friends, and I wanted to celebrate that friendship. And music was the way that it was happening, especially in the 90s at that point in time.
Do you think that music was almost like your gateway out of the environment that you were currently living in a sense too?
Sure. There was, so there's like all these, like, there was a whole list of like Christian approved bands that you could listen to, and they were all kind of busted. They were all terrible. And I knew that if you're like trying to model something after off of something that's good, why don't I just listen to the really good thing? If you like the Ramones, then you'll love the Jesus Ramones, or whatever the stupid name happened to be for the band. And I would just go ahead out and just find out what those bands were. But it was a huge escape for me. Like, I can remember listening to Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness by the Smashing Pumpkins and realizing that it was okay for me to have these feelings, because no one else, I didn't feel like my feelings were ever validated. Like, something's fucked here, y'all. What y'all are telling me ain't the real deal. And I don't know who to turn to. But when I listen to these records, it feels like there's a friend inside my mind saying, it's okay. Your feelings are fine. There's other people out there like you. You're going to be okay. So for me, it was a gateway, yes, but also a crutch, something to rely on, something to lean on. And like, yeah, and I was closeted with it for many years because I knew that it was bad. And even if you're smart enough, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Even if you have a different opinion about God, and if you don't believe in God, or you forsake that or whatever, when they tell you as a little kid about hell and the devil and sin, and they start to tell you those things whenever you're really, really small, no matter how many times you tell yourself that it doesn't exist, in the far back corner of your mind, there's always that thing nagging at you saying, well, what if you're wrong? And you're like, holy shit. So even as I was dabbling in like finding my own type of music and watching them movies and experiencing culture that was outside of their, kind of protected, brand of it. Yeah, it was certainly my rope to pull me in to other things too. And I would find other types of music and genres and things like that. So for sure.
So where did like your musical journey go from there? Like, influence wise?
I didn't make music. I mean, I was in a couple like really crappy like crust punk bands that we weren't good. It wasn't good. It wasn't fun. It was just like, I thought that maybe this is how you go about being in a band. But we never played out of Pittsburgh. It wasn't good at all. I was just like, oh, I'd like to give my hand at trying to make this. And my first attempt was an absolute failure. And then my second attempt was an absolute failure. And I think I just wanted to make something that I had seen that I also thought that I'd be able to engage in, but it wasn't anything that was very well thought out at all. And I didn't actually start playing guitar and traveling around and playing my songs out of my own until like 2008. So, and that was just like locally in Pittsburgh at different bars and clubs. My friend gave me a really crappy Ovation guitar that had a big crack down the back, so it sounded like absolute dog shit. And I would just take it to the open mic, and I would take it to the local church. There was a local church that had like a, you know, a drug-free, alcohol-free youth type of a thing, and you could go there and play for, you know, 2 songs or 7 minutes, you know, whatever you had. And I would just go ahead and do that. And at the end of the night, people would say, "Oh, we really like your song." I was like, "Oh, cool." And they're like, "Well, there's if you ever want to play a real show, we're going to be booking a real show." And I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to go to play a real show." And it just started to happen like that for me. And I just, I just kind of fell into it.
So were you under the moniker of Homeless Gospel Choir like at that time, or did that?
Yeah, I just needed to have a name for it, and I didn't want to use my actual name. I don't know why. I don't know why I picked this name. I don't know if it has any big, huge meaning outside of just, you know, words that got smashed together that, you know, people think about. But yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I had something like real big and deep, like a big nugget. You'd be like, "Oh man, I never even thought about it like that before." Nah, there's nothing like that.
It's interesting to hear where bands or people get their names from, because it's just all over the place. Like, I got a movie. I got it from like this book. It's like, oh, I don't know.
Got to be called something. It's got to be called something, and the Beach Boys were already taken, so I had to pick something.
It's you know, easily Googleable. Is that a word?
There's no second. There's no other Homeless Gospel Choir. There's only one.
See, exactly. People can find you. It's really easy. There's not like 5 bands by the same name. You're like, no, the USA one.
Yeah, right.
Not the European Homeless Gospel Choir.
We're the Brazilian Beatles. The South African Beatles.
So like doing this as like a solo like project, was that always like what you had in mind?
No. I didn't know what I was doing when I first started. I knew that I could play about 5 Johnny Cash songs, and I had these really elaborate poems that I wanted to share. And I guess it just got generalized as folk punk. I never sought out to be folk punk. I actually, if it's just between the two of us and everybody else on the internet, I don't really like that genre very much. In fact, of all genres that I could possibly imagine, that's pretty low for me. I don't like it at all. I like many more things more than that. But I was just a person with an acoustic guitar playing fast songs, so I just got kind of put into that grouping, I guess. But I've always heard more in my mind. I've always heard other instrumentation and other arrangements, and you know, sometimes I just hear like a slow, sad country song. But sometimes even before I didn't. I heard, you know, lead guitar and bass and the whole bit. And the goal since I used to be so young, has always been to put a band together and to make a full band record, which we did, which was sick.
Yeah, it was a great record.
Thanks.
Yeah. I know many people who love it too, so.
It's my favorite thing I've ever made. I know that everybody says the newest thing is their favorite, but it's true. I think it's because I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning, and I didn't know what writing a song looked like necessarily. And now that I've had, you know, plenty of times to do it, I've gotten to be better at it. And yeah, it's just, just to say this out loud, sometimes people say, you know, I really like the old stuff better. And I'm like, why? The old stuff's terrible. These songs are better songs. Of course you should like the new stuff better.
Yeah.
Why can't you just play the old stuff?
No.
There's always that
thanks.
one person. Always that one person
in the back.
Play the old stuff. Nah, fuck you. I'm busy.
There's always the person with like their arms crossed. Like,
always.
I want to hear that one.
You didn't play that one obscure song that I enjoy.
No.
And that B-side.
And I ain't gonna either.
So how does like songwriting, how does that, what's the process for you?
Well, for a long time, it always came as the words first. I would have something that I'd want to say, or I'd have some sort of a story that I'd want to tell, and I'd try and put together some words that were interesting to tell some sort of a poetic narrative, and that would be delivered via song.
Okay, sorry.
No,
my phone started ringing on my computer.
No, I was like, is that me?
Continue.
But now I've been hearing different noises. I've been hearing different sounds and different arrangements and different things. Yeah, I'm just trying to be honest to that. I'm just trying. I've always admired bands and musicians who have developed musically and artistically, and you know, AC/DC is a great example of a band who found their rhythm and then just stayed in that same lane forever. And I think, I mean, if that's it sells out arenas. So, I mean, people can certainly say that that is a method that is successful and that works. I just don't know if it would scratch my itch creatively. I don't know if, saying the same thing the same exact way every single time and just putting it in a different package would do very much for my ego. And in many ways, that's why we're here. If we're just being honest about why people create art and why they spend all this time and live in, live in little apartments so that they can go ahead and show people their art, it's because it's, they want to make something that's special. And I think it took me a while perhaps to find my voice and for me to find the way that I'd like to present the ideas that are in my mind. But now that I think that I have a better grasp on it, yeah. I'll tell you, I got to give a lot of credit to Chris #2 from Anti-Flag, because he really held my hand there in the beginning, because I didn't know anything about, writing, and I didn't know, I didn't know anything about recording or putting songs together. I knew what I heard, but I didn't have the language to go ahead and put it to make it into a thing. I knew that I loved 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, but I didn't know how to make the Big Mac. And he helped me make the Big Mac.
It's a great analogy.
I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how to get there. And now, through trial and error and a lot of guidance and gentle leaning, I now have the tools to make the noises that are in my head come out for other people too.
Yeah, I know sometimes you're just like, I want to say this, or I want to do this, and you're just, I don't know how to write it down, or I don't know how to like put that into a song or make it so other people can hear it and identify with it, and
Yeah.
But I'm sure a lot of people, like especially like this past year, have like really identified with your record. I'm sure you've gotten a lot of like
I didn't know that I was writing a record about the end of the world, that it was going to come out when it did. I didn't plan. I couldn't have planned it that good if I fucking tried. It was super by accident. I was like, oh, let's just give this a try. And then it happened. So, yeah, that's kind of funny. It's coincidental. I didn't plan. I didn't have anything to do with any of the planning of the world pandemic, if that's what you're asking.
You do mention the apocalypse.
I know.
Well, it was.
I think about it a lot because of my raising as a child. My mom would always talk about the end times and the end of the world and the rapture and, all the things going along with that. So even though, like I said prior, like I haven't removed myself from that type of expression and from that, type of worldview, it's still those claws are still very, very much deep in my mind and in my heart. And as much as I've left from it and don't have any type of particular faith in any specific religion, the ghosts of those things show up in my music. I mean, in every song, whether I want them or I don't.
Like, I thought I got rid of you. You're back for more.
Here we are, still trying to convince myself that I don't believe in God, which is super hard. It's super hard to do because it's so normal for everybody else. It's so normal. And then to, if you're raised with it, it's difficult to deny. And even now, like me saying it, like, even in this podcast, even in this very specific moment at 4:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I still have to like kind of look over my shoulder to see if like my mother's there or the Holy Spirit's watching. Like, I don't believe in God. Make sure no one's, you know.
But I think that's kind of like the experience of a lot of people who have grown up in that environment and have kind of strayed away from it or, you know, broken out of it, that there's always going to be that aspect kind of in the back of their heads, you know, like they can't fully get rid of it even if they tried to.
No, and that's what I think makes the story special. You know, not everybody can relate to growing up in a evangelical, right-wing, conservative Christian family, but the narrative that is surrounding that, everybody experiences fear. Everybody's been bullied one time or another into something that they didn't want to do or didn't feel comfortable in doing. You know, people have been lied to and sold something that is false. You know, you've had a best friend turn their back on you. Like all those things are relatable, and it's just a way to weave it into a narrative that is familiar to me, and find a way to relate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just trying to figure this all out.
Yeah, it's whenever you get there, Kanan, you let me know. You write a book, we'll find a publisher, and I'll split it with you 60-40. We'll split the we'll split the profits right down the middle, 60-40, 70-30, right down the middle.
I'm not good at math, it's fine. So, but like, was it just your immediate family that was religious, or was it like?
Yeah, it was kind of. I think my dad struggled with substance abuse for a good piece of my raising and me being a child, and I think his he found himself becoming addicted to certain things and wanting to break away from the addiction of it. And I think he was smoking crack one night, and he turned on the television and he saw a televangelist preacher saying that all your troubles are going to go away, and that if you just, you know, call up our special hotline and give us some money, the Lord's going to forgive you. And my dad just kind of got excuse me, my dad kind of got swept into that, and that's kind of how that from my knowledge, I think that's, and he was raised Catholic, but even this was like a defiant thing for him to be like, well, I'm not Catholic anymore. I'm this like super, you know, this super Christian.
Yeah.
Sounds like a cult.
You would think so, Kanan, wouldn't you? You know, micromanaging what kind of music people can listen to, how people should dress, you know, who you're allowed to spend time with, asking for portions of your money. You know, there was a big encouragement for people to homeschool their kids, and I thank Christ that my parents didn't homeschool me. I'd be way more fucked up than I actually am if my dad was my math teacher. Oh, Lord.
I was wondering how they would just let you go to public school, like knowing that it was like.
We were threatened in a number of times that my parents were going to send us to private school. That was the big, huge threat. When we were bad or we would get bad grades, my dad would say, "That's it. We're sending you to Wilson Christian Academy," or that was the big, because that was the big Christian school in the area, or Praise Christian Academy. And they were, you know, if you're bad, we're sending you to Praise with all the other bad kids. And that was like it would have been terrible.
Oh, wow. Yeah, but like,
there were great things that happened. Listen, I had birthdays. There were great things that happened to me. Aside from the super weird Christian thing, like everything was, you know, we had Thanksgiving, you know, we weren't allowed to go trick or treating, but, you know, my little brother played Little League, you know, I mean, there was other normal things that we did, but the Christian thing was the thing that, you know, sticks out the most.
But I'm like thinking that even if you were like, if you misbehaved, like I'm thinking it wouldn't be like that, like bad of a thing that you had done to warrant like.
No, but our house was dysfunctional too. It wasn't like, I know in my mind, even now, when I think of like conservative Republican Christian, I think of somebody who's wealthy, somebody who wears a suit. You know, my dad was an addict who found Christianity overnight and still lived like a very rough and tumble lifestyle. And he was, my dad also had mental health issues, being bipolar and whatnot. So there were moments where things were chaotic and hectic too. So yeah, it wasn't like, when I say conservative Republican, yada, 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 I know a lot of times people have an image in their mind of like wealth and affluence and suburbanite type culture where there's 3 cars and mom doesn't have to work and just gets to, whatever. But yeah, it's different when you're like a hillbilly and poor and also a Christian and also all the other stuff that compounded in it too.
Right. I think that's too, like, what a lot of people experience or turn to, I guess, in a sense, with those like very extreme groups, in a sense, those religious groups or, whoever it is, class doesn't matter. It's more for them to find a way to just belong to something and feel like they're a part of something, regardless of what's going on at home or, outside influences.
And there's something about there on both sides of it, which I think is problematic, that there are people who've done wrong that just want to feel forgiven. And there are people in power who want somebody to come to them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you want some salvation? Come and listen to my wise words so that I can, weave for you this life of sinless, yada, yada, yada. And it's just a bunch of bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Think of Trump. That comes to mind.
I do too. I certainly do too.
Children, I will.
Just like manipulating his little world and like watching all the people run circles around him.
The way those, like, some of those people think and just act with him, it really is like cult-like. It's very like surreal just listening to them and seeing them. Like, oh my gosh. I think of like the TikToks that like I would see, during like election week and, whatever it was, like they were wild.
Oh yeah. I mean, at least if we can make a disagreement on something, only if there's a common truth for us to disagree on.
Yeah.
But when there's no common truth, and whenever we can't go ahead and say this thing happened and this thing is bad, they're being told that this thing didn't happen. And if it did happen, it's probably good. So it's difficult to go ahead and have dialogue with somebody when there's not even like a functioning cornerstone for us to go ahead and have dialogue over. And I think one thing that Trump did that was very valuable to him in his campaign for a majority of the time that he was in power was just a wealth of disinformation where nobody knew what the fuck was happening or what the real truth was. And there's fake news and there's false news and QAnon gets into the mix and the whole bit of it. And people are like, well, I don't even know what the hell's happening because there's a million different voices all turned up to 11 and they're all shouting at me. People in my family have even had their fill with it.
Yeah. It's such a, like, I don't have the words. Like, it's just such a mess of like things going on. Like even the QAnon stuff I just watched on Vice, they had like a special that kind of dissected the beliefs behind that and how it got started. And I still was like, what is this?
It's bonkers. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean,
that's a whole nother thing. Like, it's wild. Like,
I mean, at least we have math, and at least for a long time, I thought we have math and science to rely on. We can all agree on that, right? We have math and we have science, and you really can't disagree with that. But, well, I was wrong. I guess you can. I guess there's a whole bunch of people who are like, nah, the earth is flat. Fight me. And you're like, I don't want to. Not on this.
I don't want to.
Not on this. I'm not going to fight you on this one.
Exactly. Or you sometimes I would get really, like, I would really want to know, like, why people like Trump so much. And you'd ask them, like, why do you like him? Or why did you vote for him? And then they would just get so defensive and how dare you ask that? Or like, he's saving the world or something like completely ridiculous. And then you can't even have a conversation with them. It just shut
There was
down.
a lot of that narrative. There was a lot of that narrative that was happening, that he was, that he would come back and win, that, before January 20th, that he was going to come back and take the keys to the castle and storm the gates and yada, yada, yada. But they just whipped a bunch of people who unfortunately were misinformed or uneducated or both. And they sent them wild saying it's our time to shine, when it certainly wasn't.
I think also when he like lived through COVID, like that,
Yeah.
that didn't help at all.
I'll tell you, I'll say this: whenever he came out with the steroid shot after he got it, and he was up on stage, and he was up there, and he was up there, and he was dancing like back and forth. He was up on stage, and he was going for it. I was like, if that's what COVID-19 gets for you, I'm ready. Give it to me. Cough in my mouth. Donald Trump, he was up there doing like, he was dancing on stage. They gave him that steroid shot right before he went out there. I was like, I bet you he feels like he could fly. I bet you if he tried hard enough, he could levitate in front of these people. I bet you he could.
That whole thing too, like, it's just nothing really like surprised anyone.
No.
Like, with COVID, like, was it like the day he went to the hospital or something, and then like he's out in like their little caravan and he's driving around like waving at people like as he's like positive, and his like Secret Service is in the car with him, and he's like, I'm okay, guys. Like,
I don't know. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but and listen, I voted for Joe Biden as a vote against Trump. I would just like to go ahead and say that just on the record. I did vote for Joe Biden, but I voted for Joe Biden because I thought if I didn't, I would live to regret it. And I bet you I would have. But it still blows my mind how much peace I've had with Joe Biden in office. Like, even as somebody who I roundly disagree with, I've just had, since Trump has removed, he's not on Twitter, he's not on Facebook, you don't hear from him every second, there has been like this great release of peace in my heart. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where it's come from. And I think it's just like, I don't have to worry, or I don't have to sit in anxiety wondering if he's going to say something disparaging about somebody, or say that he doesn't like Rosie O'Donnell, or whatever other, whack ass shit that he's going to go ahead and talk about on Twitter. Like, even the fear of him being a loose cannon, I'm like, oh, Joe Biden's going to get us our $2,000. I'm not worried about it. We're going to be all right.
Just like that sense of relief, like
it was like a weight lifted. Like, it was like the energy had just changed. Like, as soon as that happened.
I've never been so excited to champion a moderate Democrat in my whole life. He's about as middle of the road as you can possibly get.
Yep.
I'm super. I do feel, and maybe it just has to do with my privilege. I'm sure it does. That just the amount of peace that I feel now, and I can only imagine that being multiplied for LGBTQ people or POC or women in the trans community, who have many more obstacles than certainly than I do, and how much easier it must be to have old Uncle Joe up there at the helm of it.
Uncle Joe.
It was like the first day or second day he rolled back the military restriction on trans people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Yeah, and it's just nice to just be spoken to like a respectfully. Yeah. When he addresses people, it's not just like a WWF event.
Hello, my followers. Welcome. Like, no. Exactly. Yeah, I'm glad we all feel that, like, that weight that's been lifted, and we can kind of like breathe for a little bit and focus on something else instead of like impending doom in that sense. I mean, we still have other things to deal with, but
sure,
just like
but
that.
for now, just it being super fresh and super new and like whatever, 3 weeks old, it feels nice.
Just a couple weeks. Yeah, we'll see what happens. It's only February. But I'll speak. So yesterday was February 1st, right? Mm-hmm. So that was the anniversary of Dookie.
Okay. So I didn't even see that on the internet.
It came out in 94. I turned my phone off because I don't want it to ring again. So I was like, I can't Google anything right now.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I was like, oh, what a coincidence. We're talking to Derek, and
here we are.
Right on the
day after Dookie Day.
Yeah, day after Dookie Day. I think people didn't really post about it yesterday, but you know, it's a cool
I'm trying to get out of that internet. I found myself doom scrolling too much, and I'm poking in, I'm saying hello, and then I'm back out. Yeah. But today is Groundhog's Day, February 2nd, which is celebrated right here in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. Well, Pennsylvania, the state that I'm in, but Punxsutawney. Did you ever watch that movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray in it?
Yeah, it's been a while though.
It's been a very long time.
I love it.
Visit a lot of movies.
I love Groundhog Day. There's certain times where I'll just watch it just again. I already know exactly how it's gonna go, but I love that movie. I don't know why I love it, but I do.
I was gonna say, are you like a big like pop culture like junkie type person?
I'm not. I really just like the things that I like, and I can't explain it. There's certain shows that I just completely missed out on. I've never watched Breaking Bad. I've never watched Rick and Morty. I've never seen the show Scrubs. So there's just things about pop culture that I just don't know about, because the things that I do like, I just like a whole bunch, and I just kind of just stick to the things that I do like pretty good. Not to say that I won't give anything else a try, but I just kind of, I don't know. I don't like to watch TV very much. So I guess I do miss out. I found out, I don't know if y'all know about this, but I'm going to put you in on a big industry secret that not a lot of people know about. But I didn't know that Miley Cyrus and Hannah Montana were the same. It's the same fucking person. I mean, I was shocked. I was absolutely just taken by it.
Do you just find out now?
What was the moment that you knew, like, oh my gosh, it's the same person?
They look the same. They kind of look the same a little bit. I could see a thing here. Wouldn't you know it? They're the same damn person. Dad was Billy Ray, the guy that did Old Town Road with Little Nas X. I was shocked by it. But here we are. You can't know everything. Not everybody can know everything. It's just something I didn't know.
Just one day, you're like, hey, they look the same.
Wait a second. What are you trying to pull here? Your faces look similar.
Oh my God.
I love that.
It's like when they say that the drummer from Nirvana looks like the singer from Foo Fighters.
Hey, wait a second. What are you trying to pull over here?
But like some people don't know that, and then they're like wearing a Nirvana shirt, and they're like, "Wait, who? What?"
I do think that it is funny and in many ways hypocritical that you can go and do an H&M and buy a Kurt Cobain t-shirt. I think that it's like, I think he would turn in his grave if and I didn't know the fella. I was super young whenever he passed, but I can only imagine like making this anti-establishment music and like your entire statement being about like, we're not interested in pandering to your music industry, malarkey. And then they're putting him up in an H&M t-shirt, which I think is too much.
Okay. So for This Land Is Your Landfill, you like recruited your friends who are musicians. Like, how did that come about? Like, did you just like call them up and like?
Well, I was on tour in Europe with Frank Turner. And we were playing these super fancy shows, real big fancy shows. And every night the band, the Arkells from Canada would come on stage and we would play as a live band to close the set out. And it felt so good to do it. And I'd been wanting to do that for a while. And I was on tour in the UK, I think. And I called up Matt Miller from Endless Mike and the Beagle Club. And he plays in the Belly Boys and a bunch of other bands too. And I just said, hey, I have these songs. I want to make them. I want to do this as a full band for this next record. Are you in? And he said, I'm in. And I sent him the songs and we got together and we worked on those new songs for months. And I would take the train out to Harrisburg and he would come and take the train into Pittsburgh and we would meet up on the weekends and put a song and a half together or two songs together, and he would go back and we would come back in and go for it. And I just thought about like the music that I like and the voices that I was hearing in my head and the structure and the style of the thing that I know that I wanted to make, and who I thought would be a good fit. And more so than that is whose company I enjoy and who I could stand in on the road with for longer than a week at a time. And I love Craig plays in a band with Matt called Small Paul, and he's an absolutely amazing drummer. And both Megan and Maura are from Cincinnati, and I've been friends with them for quite a bit. And they were the first people that I thought of. And I was like, hey, I have these songs. I think that they're good. I think if you think really hard, you'll think they're good too. Do you want to be in a band? And they're like, yep, we're in. And they heard the songs and they came to Pittsburgh and we practiced them and we went on tour.
Yeah, that's cool.
I lucked out. I mean, I hit the punk rock lottery. I did. They were all the first people that I asked. I wouldn't have anybody else in my band. Like my first pick options all said yes. And like, I was super stoked.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'll say this for sure, but Endless Mike and the Beagle Club is one of my favorite bands of all time. And the fact that Matt decided to be in a band with me, like, made my heart feel so full. And Megan was in a pop punk band from Cincinnati called Boys that I thought was just the best. And I love Maura Weaver, and we toured a bit just a few years back, and I met her in 2009 at a mixtape show in Pittsburgh, 2010 or whenever it happened to be. I had a mixtape show in Pittsburgh, and yeah, it was just cool to cultivate those friendships and to continue them and to make art together too, and to make music together, and people that you trust and you know, we like each other. It's cool.
Oh, that, because I was like, oh yeah, because I mean, yeah, definitely a mixtapes fan, and definitely like an Ogikubo station fan, and just Maura's in like so many bands. I'm like, I can't.
I know.
I can't keep it straight. It. Homeless Gospel Choir, Ogikubo, like
all of the bands. And then I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it yet, but they're in a new, just because of COVID-19, they're in a quarantine band too, a recording project band that's so good. I'll let them tell the story whenever it's time, but you'll be excited to hear that too.
I'm excited. Definitely very excited. That's just the group, like, it's just such a powerhouse group of all of you in this one project. And so I'm glad that, you know, your first picks were down to help you out.
Me too. I don't know what I mean. I knew that I wanted to make it. It's a lot to stand up there on that big, huge stage by yourself and have people clap for you just by yourself. It makes you feel strange sometimes. And I just wanted to have my expression of care and joy be shared with people that I trusted. And hopefully those songs give you hope. And hopefully those songs give you courage. And hopefully those songs are a welcomed guide on your dusty trail of life. And I just wanted those people to bear the burden with me in doing it, so that we could stand there together and make that noise and feel good about it. And I was glad. I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it the way that I've done it in the past, the way that I wanted to do, you know, the way that we wanted to make it this time. It wouldn't have been fair to the people who like the music to hear me play those songs on an acoustic guitar. This Land Is Your Landfill has to be played as a loud punk record, or else I would be cheapening the experience, I think.
Yeah, it's great. now I'm like, I have to go listen to this after the
Yeah, do it.
Everyone go listen to the record if you haven't yet.
So they've been doing this study that I don't know if y'all heard about over there in California, that if you play This Land Is Your Landfill when you're asleep, great things will happen to you in your life. You'll come into love and into money. There's people who have had their mortgages forgiven. There's been people who've been able to speak with the dead. I mean, just the most miraculous, amazing things have been happening to people when they're playing This Land Is Your Landfill on Spotify on repeat while they're asleep. It's been wild. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you what to believe in, but the facts are
there. I'm gonna try that and then report back to you.
Report back on the good things.
Give me a year, every night for a year, and we'll see if anything good happened to you.
Like, Derek, you lied to me.
We'll keep like a log every night. Okay, this happened.
Exactly. Just journal it. Exactly. Totally. So, but this land is your landfill was derived from This Land Is Your Land by Woody Guthrie, right?
Yeah.
So were you just like pissed off at how people were like treating like the earth and decided
it's certain comment on how we're treating the world. It's certainly a comment on that. It's certainly a comment on, this land is your land. And Woody Guthrie paints this beautiful picture of from California to the redwood forest, and how beautiful America is and how pristine. And this land has been given for you and me, and we're supposed to enjoy it together. And now whenever you look at America, it's just landfill after landfill after shopping plaza after stretch of concrete after abandoned building. And not to say that it's not beautiful, not to say it's not the place that I've lived my entire life and that I want it to be good, but I think that we were doing ourselves some dishonesty, if I can just say that, in saying how wonderful we are and how great we have it, whenever in reality people are swimming through oceans of plastic. And maybe it's not physical plastic, but maybe it's the plastic that's just in your mind, being plagued with depression or being plagued with sad thoughts or loneliness or whatever. That big, huge wave of shit that you're swimming through can be filled with a whole bunch of different things that looks like garbage. And I think and then, hopefully, if you have the courage in your heart and you have support around you, you're able to get on that surfboard and smile a little bit through the wave of chaos.
Sounds like I was like, that was a beautiful statement. Like it's just it's like I thought about this before.
I have. I've been waiting. Some people wait a lifetime for a moment like this, and I have been.
Wow.
That was seamless right there.
I like whenever sometimes whenever Lindsay and I will get into an argument where we disagree, and we won't yell or fight, but we'll disagree to the point where she'll know or I'll know that the decision's going to bum the other person out, and I like to sing, "Some people wait a moment for a lifetime like this." And then we know that it's time to laugh about it. It's like the wink. It's okay, wink. Derek sang the song. It's time to move on past it.
It's like your safe word. Like we're done. Like, it's over.
That's it.
That's great. Love that. I love that we know the reference too. So it's like
that's a pop culture thing I didn't miss out on. I'll tell you that.
American Idol.
I thought Ruben Studdard was going to be bigger than Biggie Smalls. No kidding. I was like, he's going to be the biggest thing ever. Turned out, no one knows about Ruben Studdard anymore, unfortunately.
Did you actually like vote when they were like?
Well, you also should know that I am lazy in many ways. I'm not gonna, sit on hold to vote for somebody who doesn't give a fuck about me. So no, I didn't vote, but I did root for people just from the comfort of my chair.
Yeah, too bad Ruben Studdard didn't do anything.
I was pulling for him too. Clay Aiken too. Every once in a while you'll see videos of Clay Aiken singing at like the South Carolina Farm Day or whatever, and he'll be up there and he'll sing his songs, and I'm stoked on it. I think Clay's great. I do. I love Michelle Branch. I love Lady Gaga. I love pop music. I do.
I was like, have we heard from Michelle Branch in a while? Like, has she done anything?
She's in my mind almost every day singing those songs.
He's like thinking, turn it inside out so I can see.
Oh yeah.
She's everywhere to you, right?
To me for sure. I've been trying to write a hook like that my whole life. Jesus Christ Almighty.
I'm sure she's like not busy. You could probably email her. She's
too busy for a call from Pittsburgh. I'll tell you that. She's too busy for that.
Michelle Branch, if you're watching.
Yeah, Michelle Branch. Who else? If anybody from Devo is watching, I like your band pretty good too. Who else? That's it. Michelle Branch and Devo. The rest of you,
very eclectic group of musicians. I love that. I love when people like pick from different like genres and they're just like, I like what I like. And that's...
There's really no explaining it either. There's certain things like, oh, you like this band, then you'd love this other band. I'm like, it's just not, I don't like it. And I wish that I wish we could have a conversation about the Rolling Stones. I just don't care. I don't need them. I need the Beatles. I have them. That's enough for me. Of the British era, I have the Beatles, and you can keep the Rolling Stones. I'm not interested. Or I have friends who are really into Kiss, and I was like, why? I'm good. I don't need it.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, I had a friend who was like super into Kiss. He had like Kiss Army tattoo and was like,
to me
24/7. I'm like, what's your opinion on the Spice Girls?
Well, Lindsay went to London for Spice World. She was there. She was in the Spice Pit. She had Spice Pit tickets. Yo, she came back. I got a jacket. I got a sweater in her. It doesn't fit me, but it's hers.
We're like our jaws.
Oh yeah, all about Spice World. I mean, we planned that trip. I didn't go, but I was on tour. But she went out with her best friend Zach, and they spent like the week. They went the weekend there, and oh yeah, Spice World all day.
We're both just like, man. We both went to the Spice World tour here, and what was that night? Like 98, I think, right?
Something like that, yeah. 98. Yeah.
But
I know we look like we're 18, but
well,
man,
I know how to hold my age well too. I tell people that I'm 22 all the time. It doesn't make it so.
They're like, sure, whatever you say. with the mask on.
That's the mask on. It certainly hides it all.
So like for your music videos, like do you come up with the ideas yourself, or is it like a collaborative?
For the new record, we did a song for Don't Compare, and that came from Zach Moser and Clark Stefanik. They were the videographers for that music video, and we shot that in my neighborhood. And in the we own an Airbnb down the street, and that's where we shot that music video at the Airbnb that's down the street from our house. And in the other one, Art Punk, we shot that in about 3 hours in Harrisburg. We just went to a whole bunch of different spots, and we sang that song over and 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 over again. And that's how we made that music video. But the idea of normal video was my idea, and we just got somebody to make that. And my friend Dave Watt did the cartoon animated music video for the Crazy song that I did with my buddy Frank Iero, and he animated that, and that was I just told him to go for it. I was like, I trust your art. You're one of my favorites ever. Just go for it and make something that just make me look skinny. And he was like, sick, I'm in on it. And he sorted me out.
It's my one request.
I was like, just make my face look thin. That's all I care about. The rest of it, I already know the song's good.
I'll say, speaking of Frank Iero, we were supposed to see My Chemical Romance last year. Of course.
You and everybody else's mother was going to go see MCR last year.
Right? Everyone.
Everybody was going to those shows. Nobody was going to miss it. And it would have been so spectacular to see them play those songs on a big, huge stage with all that production and all that. It would have been mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But c'est la vie, we must continue to be patient.
It'll happen.
It will for sure happen eventually.
Yes. I mean, it's sold out in a day worldwide. Mm-hmm. That is unbelievable. Yeah. It's unbelievable that all those tickets, I mean, yeah, you'd be a fool to not go back for it. And I know that they will, and I know that it's going to be great. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I think there were like 3 LA dates. They kept adding like more dates to LA because it was just selling out so fast.
And I think they're going to have to do that with a lot of the major cities: New York, LA, Phoenix, Dallas, London, Paris, Japan. You're going to have 4 dates in a row at an arena so that everybody will be able to go ahead and see it.
Yeah.
It's a big, it was the thing that, and I wasn't into that band whenever they were a band. I'm a backstage, I'm a backdoor fan. I got in much later, only because of my friendship with Frank. But I was spellbound by it, and I was like, man, this is the buzz around. Everybody was so excited. People were, I'd never seen people share ticket links on their Instagram feed ever. Like, I got tickets, and people were like, not even physical tickets. Like, I'm in line to buy the tickets. There's only 1,000 people ahead of me in line to buy the tickets, and they're updating it. I'm like, y'all are for real about it, which I think is sick.
Yeah. Only 1,000 people ahead of me. That sounds like us. We're just like staring at our phones, like, okay, refresh.
Yeah, we've had this for sure.
I'm trying to think. I probably would do that to see Tom Waits. If I knew that I could see Tom Waits one more time before he died, and there was only one chance that I was going to go ahead and do it, I'd take out a bank loan to do that. I think it's probably fair to say. But yeah, I would have done. I plan on seeing MCR when they come back too.
Yeah. Here's to that.
Knock on wood, we're gonna be fine, y'all. Listen, and another thing that I just want to share with the two of you and everybody else who's listening to it, punk rock's gonna look at my face and listen to my words. Punk rock is gonna be fine, y'all. We're gonna be fine. We're going to find a VFW. We're going to find a fire hall. We're going to find a church basement to put on shows. We're going to have a backyard barbecue. Punk rock's going to be fine. I'm not worried about us one bit. We're going to find a way to rent out a room that holds 250 kids, and we'll smash people in there, and we'll have our own DIY shows. I'm not worried one bit. Live Nation, see you later. We might not have you around anymore. But for the rest of us, for the punks, we're going to be fine. We're going to figure out a way to do it, and we're going to do it ethically, and hopefully we'll be able to do it in a way that we get to be in control, and we don't have these big, huge corporate interests in our pockets, adding ticket fees and taking, merchandising cuts from bands who have traveled 10 hours to get there. Yeah. The ground is fertile for the DIY community and the underground world to make a resurgence and to say, we're going to do music, but we're going to do it on our own terms, and we don't need you anymore. So I'm really excited about. I'm excited to do the hard work that it takes to create something like that again too. And I think everyone in the band is on the same page that we would much rather play some weird basement of a barbershop than like try and crawl to these big, huge monsters of corporate greed and say, can you let our teeny little punk band have a shot? I think if we just keep it ourselves in control ourselves, I think we'll win. I'm excited.
We agree. We definitely prefer like the small hole in the wall, dingy
times.
Basement.
It's the best. If you got a chance to see your favorite band in a room with only 100 people, it's the best feeling in the whole world. Like, I remember I saw Dead to Me, and they played Pittsburgh. They were on tour with the Flatliners. I think it was the Flatliners and Dead to Me, and they played at the Smiling Moose, which is this little teeny room that only holds like 160 people. And all my friends were there, and we were just like, oh, wait a second. This is actually the best thing ever. That I'm sure they could have went ahead and played some big, huge room and got a big, huge fancy thing. But it was a Tuesday night, and they're like, we're going to cram into this bar and give these folks a real show. And it was amazing. I think about it all the time.
We had the Cover Up show. I was just thinking about that. It was like a couple years ago. There's like this, it's called the Tiki Bar in Costa Mesa. It's like super, super small. And like, it's like the bar. And then there's like this little room that you go and there's like a stage, and it probably holds maybe 200 people. But it was the Cover Ups, which is Billy Joe's, like one of Billy Joe's like side projects. The Interrupters, Dead Mermaids, which is one of Trey's like side projects, and then One Less Zero, which is Sarah's band, Trey's wife. Oh, cool. And when the Cover Ups were playing, because it's him and Mike, at one point they were all up there playing because they would like kind of rotate in and out. It was like all their friends and stuff. So at one point they were all up there and they played a Green Day set to a room of like maybe 200 people.
Fuck.
Unreal. And we posted it on social media, and people were like, what, there's a Green Day show? Like, no, this just like happened.
It just happened, like, because it was the Cover Ups, and it advertises the Cover Ups, and then at one point it was just Green Day up there playing,
like in a small bar. Like,
that's so cool.
It was, yeah, definitely something to remember forever.
So I have a funny story about that I want to share with you. We heard that Refused was getting back together, and we didn't have a chance to see Refused in the 90s when they put out The Shape of Punk to Come. And I always told myself that if Refused ever got back together, I would go to see them. That was my goal. And they made an announcement, and they were going to play in Brooklyn. So I bought bus tickets, I bought show tickets, we got a place to stay, and I'm going to New York City, and we're going to go ahead and see Refused, and this is going to be great. And this is a big, huge trip. Get on the bus, get out to the gig, and on the ticket, real big, it says Refused, rain or shine. It was an outside concert, and we got all the way there, and it was supposed to be this big, huge baseball field. And we get there, and I go up to the ticket guy, and I was like, I'm here to see the gig. And he's like, it's been canceled because of rain. And I said, I came here from Pittsburgh. It says rain or shine on the ticket. And he said, you're going to have to take that up with the ticket guy. I was heartbroken. I felt like I wanted to die. I was like, this is the only thing I wanted to see. I was super over dramatic and emotional about it. By the way, I was like, I don't even think I want to go home if I don't get to see this show. I was super emo about the whole bit. And I was on Twitter, and I follow Refused on Twitter, and they said, sorry about the rain out tonight. We're actually going to play a free show for the first 350 people at this little teeny loft bar in Brooklyn. If you can get in line, you can get in for free. And we're going to go ahead and have Off open, which I'm a huge Black Flag fan. And Keith Morris from Black Flag and Off and the Circle Jerks, at the time it was a new band. His new band Off was playing. And we got on the subway. We bolted across town. We got in line, and we were in line like numbers 335, 336, and 337 to 350. They only took up the 350. So we were like of the last, 20 people to get into the show to go ahead and see it. And it might be one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
It was so cool. Because you're like, oh, this is it. It's over. It's a wrap. I'm not going to go ahead and see it. And then not only did we get our money back from the show, but I got a chance to see them for free in this little teeny club. It was so cool. And Off killed it. Off was great. And I didn't know that Maura Rubacabla from Hot Snakes also drummed in Off. And I was like, man, this is like the most punk rock celebrity thing of my entire life. And I got a chance to see it for free, and it was sick.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. You're just like standing there like, is this real life? Like
I was literally 2 arms lengths away from Dennis Lichten from Refused. I was standing on this little teeny ledge right on side stage. There was no backstage. There was nowhere for them to go. They had to come from outside up to stage to play. It was so sick.
It sounds like the Tiki Bar too. It was just like the little staircase and right there, just standing there, right next to us, like arm's length from Billy Joe Armstrong.
Billy Joe's like flicking guitar picks at us, and we're like, what is happening right now? Like, what is this night?
I don't want to be the American idiot either, Billy Joe. I'm not a part of the redneck agenda either, Billy Joe.
Just picturing like conversations with you is just lyrics
at this little club where it's super loud, and I'm trying to tell Billy Joe his own lyrics. Okay, this is scene one. Scene one, I'm in a club with Billy Joe Armstrong. It's really, really loud. There's only 100 people in there. And then all of a sudden, I'm trying to tell Billy Joe about American Idiot. I'm not an American idiot. I don't want to be one. And then it goes to, and the scene ends with, I'm not a part of a redneck agenda either, Billy Joe. Scene ends. Next scene picks up. Me and Billy Joe are at the Brooklyn Diner eating a big, huge tempeh burger, and he's telling me about how great he loves my new record. And then I wake up, and then scene 3 starts.
It's oddly specific. I'm like, where were we? This
has been really fun. Hopefully I'm not derailing you. I'm having a really good.
No, it's
great.
We like derailing.
Okay, cool.
No, I was thinking about I mentioned the music videos, and like as soon as I was watching, like when Normal came out, I was like, this is Alanis Morris. Like, this is great.
I just thought it would be funny to dress up like Alanis Morissette and do my own version of her music video. It turned out to be pretty okay, I think.
With the braids. Love it. It looks great.
Thanks.
I'm like, this feels like I've seen this before. I feel like this is a thing. Yeah.
It's always nice. It's always nice when a giant, huge major label spends millions of dollars to make an indie rock music video in the 90s. And then you're able to literally steal that idea for $500 and make a version of your own in 2017. I feel like the punks won on that one a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. Like, this is my own idea.
Yeah, completely original idea here.
I'm just driving, and then there's me in the back seat, and then there's another me in the back seat. It's great.
Thanks.
Love it. So you're a fan of musicals. So what is your favorite musical?
I like them all. I like the idea of a corporate, like a storytelling. I like a storytelling. I like there to be a character. I like there to be a narrative. I like Little Shop of Horrors. I love Pee Wee Herman. I love Nightmare Before Christmas. I love Annie, the musical. I love West Side Story. I love there to be character development. I just love to see a musical show. I love everything about it. I'm just a big fan.
I don't know. Yeah, I was like, I can hear like theatrical elements like in your music, and I'm like, oh yeah, definitely.
The new thing is just going to sound like commercial after commercial. Like I'm honestly trying to make it sound like it's like that, like it's act 1, act 2, scene 2, scene 3, act 3, scene 2, and just have it be like that. I don't know if it's going to turn out that way, but in my mind, that's how it sounds.
Right.
It's already written. The new record's already written. We just have to go ahead and record it and put it out into the world. But I just spent, as soon as I knew that we weren't going to tour on this Land Is Your Landfill, I was like, well, fuck it. I might as well go ahead and start writing some new stuff. And I did.
Great way to spend, take out some time.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely. You could have your own musical one day. That would work out.
That would be sick. I think, I mean, it would be sick if it was a puppet show too. Like there's a thing and we go away and we just make would be really sick if it was a stage and it was all being acted out and we were just like the band down there on the floor and we're playing the soundtrack to the puppet show. I would do the voices too. Don't you do? And I would just have like, I would be like the mother from Off, there's Derek, the struggle. This is Derek, the character. This is the devil telling Derek to do bad things. This is the cop also telling Derek to do bad things. And this is Derek's mother on the side. Don't you listen to the devil? And, it would be like a puppet show, punk rock show. It'd be sick.
That'd be really cool.
I would see it.
I'd go to see it.
We'd hope that you would go to see it.
I would, even if it wasn't me. I'd hey, if that's somebody else's idea, I'll go look at it.
Yeah, I'll give everything a shot. Why not?
I've been saying YOLO't. You only live once or twice. Because we don't know yet. It's YOLO't.
Wouldn't it be YOLO't? Because it's 2 O's?
Yeah, maybe. But I like yote better. Yeah.
Or twice.
YOLO't. You only live once. Or twice. It's very uncertain.
It's a new thing. Let's touch on to that.
It's a whole new spiritual journey I'm on.
We'll try to say that next time. Like Derek Zanetti says, YOLO't.
YOLO't.
That'll be the new thing. Like the last thing that we saw together before COVID was Pee-wee's Big Adventure at the Wiltern.
Yes.
That was anniversary tour, and it was great.
It's the best. Paul Rubens is the absolute fucking best. I love Pee Wee Herman so much. My last show, there was 2 of them. I went to Harrisburg to go see Corky, which is Ian MacKaye and Joe Lally from Fugazi, and Amy from the Evens, and they're in a 3-piece band. Discord put out their new record. We saw them for free at the Midtown Scholar Library bookstore in Harrisburg, and they just did like a donation show at the door. And I'm like, oh, this is Ian MacKaye from Minor Threat and Fugazi. He invented hardcore, and he's just doing like a $5 donation show at the library. It was super duper punk. It was super duper cool. And then, the band from Cincinnati Vacation?
No, I don't think so.
You should check them out. They're great. They put out a record on Don Giovanni. It's a great album. But they just played like a DIY punk show, like a $5 punk show, like right before quarantine. It was the last time I was out at a show with people.
Yeah. My last show was March 14th, and everything had shut down March 13th. And my friend and I, we were trying to find a show because like everything was shutting down, and we're like, this isn't going to happen for like a really long time. So let's just find something. So this bar that we always go to for shows had a show the 13th, and they were only supposed to have that one and then shut down. But with everything going on, they were like, okay, we're going to split it into 2 nights. We'll have the crowd at half capacity. If you have tickets for the first night, you can go. And then we're going to release just a little bit more tickets. So we ended up buying tickets to the second night. And a few hours before the show, they confirmed the first COVID case in that city. And we were like, do we still go? Like, what do we do? So we ended up going, and I brought a thing of hand sanitizer with me. We ran into friends there. It was such a like weird vibe because like the world was basically like falling apart, and here we are just trying to enjoy this show, like not pay attention to like what's going on, but like no one, like people would just kind of stand like a few feet apart from each other, and like it was just such a like weird experience.
I just hope that that's not the like I don't want to go back to I don't want to make it not what it was. I mean, I understand that it's going to be different, but I'm not willing to play like drive-in movie theater shows. I'm not willing to just live on the internet. It's not rock and roll to me. It's not. And like, when I say dangerous, I don't mean to be unfair to people, but punk rock should be dangerous, and it should be spontaneous, and it should be, not to say that I want to put people in danger by not wearing a mask or anything like that, but we should be close together. It's something we should experience communally. And the magic of punk rock is that we're in a room together rubbing elbows, and we're in a room together sharing of stories, and we're sharing our lives together. And you don't get to do that when your homies just park down the spot of the drive-in movie theater. And it just seems to me to be busted. And I when it's time to participate in it regular, I'm super down to get back to it, but I don't want to do something that it's like, a light version of it, like a Diet Coke version or a Hellman's light mayonnaise. I just want to have the regular thing.
Yeah.
Hellman's mayonnaise.
Don't give me any light mayonnaise. If I come to your house for lunch and you bring out some light Miracle Whip or some light mayonnaise, I'm out of there.
All right, noted. And then I guess my final question is what is it that you do like for self-care, like to take care of yourself? Like what are your usual
That's a wonderful question. Thanks for asking it. And I do want to just go ahead and just take a moment, Raven and Kanan, to say thank you so much for your time and for having me on your show. It means a lot, and I'm glad that we're friends and we have this opportunity to talk about it. Self-care and mental health is no joke. It's not something that that should be taken lightly, nor should it be passed off when somebody comes to you with something that's serious. If they're worried or they're scared or they're nervous or they don't feel like they can trust their judgment, I think there is a wealth of opportunity to provide a good friendship and to say so. But one thing that I do every morning is I go ahead down I didn't realize that so much of my anxiety and my worry happened to do with the fact that I was dehydrated most of the time. So before I go ahead down, I do a water count now, where I know that I drink a gallon of water, and it's just like a meditative thing. It's just a thing that I do, that I care. It's a self-care thing that I do. That's a piece of like my morning routine. And my other thing that I do for self-care and for my meditation in the morning is I do a 30-minute free write every single morning. I have, I'll show you I just have pages and pages and pages and pages of notes and lyrics and ideas and thoughts. And this is just from this past week. And I wake up every single morning and I just write my thoughts down, and I write my feelings down, and I find different ways to say the thing that's going on inside my mind. And sometimes it's just like, it's a very, it's a very honest release, and you're able to be very honest and brutally honest, even sometimes, with your feelings, with no attachment, with no, oh, I have to make this a good sentence structure. Oh, I have to make sure that I spell the right version of there, or where, right. I'm just getting the demons out of my mind. And it's been like a very, very good way for me to spend intentional time giving myself some self-care. So those are the two little tricks that I've done over quarantine of things that I think anybody can do to better your quality of life, is to make sure that you're drinking water and you're not dehydrated, because just because you're not out in the world running about and getting a sweat on doesn't mean that your body doesn't need to have water. And to write your feelings down so that you can be honest about them, and you can look them square in the face and say, on February 2nd, I felt great. I did this awesome interview. And we talked about things that we love and we care about. And at the beginning of the interview, we were strangers. And at the end of the interview, we were actual friends. And you're able to take that and have it be a milestone for your life. And it does seem silly, and it does seem childish, and maybe even foolish even, to put such a big, heavy importance on your feelings. But I do honestly believe that it works. The evidence is in my own life that it has worked for me. And I've been able to just take 30 small minutes at the beginning of my day and to just and to enter into something like that. And it does set a whole tone for my whole day. It gives my day a good pace. And even on days where I don't feel like I'm necessarily very creative, or maybe I had a song part that I wanted to work on that I didn't quite get to, I don't feel guilty or ashamed about it, because I got my free write done. And that's the thing that I can look at and say that I've done. So those are the two things, if I would just say, for self-care or mental health awareness, or any of those two things that are very, very simple, and everybody can do them, even if you don't think it would help. What's it going to hurt to do it for 30 days? Drink a gallon of water every day and write about your feelings. If you don't like it, don't do it anymore. But I think it'll help you more than it'll hurt you.
Yes. That's a great idea. I definitely don't drink enough water. So
I've been at it. I mean, I'll tell you, you do pee a lot more, and I won't lie to you about that. We only have one bathroom in this house, and sometimes in the morning, it's a dash to get there, but it is good for you.
And Raven, did you have any more?
Do you just want to plug like your social media and where people can find you?
Sure. If you go to www.theinternet.com and just go into that bar and type in the Homeless Gospel Choir, they'll tell you everything you need to know. You can, there's no shows to talk about. There's no tours to talk about. There's no new record to talk about. I don't feel like shipping out any t-shirts. So if you just want to, just go ahead up and catch up on the old stuff. Watch the old interviews, listen to the old records. Just go to theinternet.com, go to www.theinternet.com and just look up the Homeless Gospel Choir. They'll give you a whole fuck ton of stuff for you to, keep your attention.
All right.
Best answer right there.
The internet.com.
That's all I have. That's all the direction you're getting from me.
I think people can figure it out on their own, and if they can't, it's
not meant to be. I don't, there's certain people in just the world who do get a rise or do get excitement whenever they tell you that your art's lousy. And I do think that it's funny whenever people, I don't like your new music very much. And I just say, well, it's not for everybody, and they don't know how to respond. I just made it for me. And it's a miracle that anybody likes it. And the fact that you even listen to it's a miracle. And the fact that you listen to it enough to form an opinion, to decide that you don't like it, and then you had the gall to write me about it, is fucking sick. So
I bought your album off of you and listened to it, and I don't like it.
Do you want me to give you your money back? No, I don't want my money back. I just want to let you know that I think that it's lousy. Great.
Oh my God. Well, thank you, Derek, for being here.
Thank you very much.
We're happy to talk to you, and
thank you.
Have a new friend.
Yeah.
Here we are. And next time that you're in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or if I'm out there in California, we'll be friends in real life too. And if we all wear our masks and we all use hand sanitizer and socially distance and get the shot when we're supposed to, we'll be back at having shows and doing regular old-fashioned punk shit before you know it. Just try and be kind to yourself. Give yourself some space to feel your feelings. And I think we'll make it out of here okay. If you feel worried or scared or nervous, make sure you reach out to somebody. It's important. I know that it might not seem like an answer to any of those things, but you should reach out to somebody that you know and that you trust, and talk about it. It'll make the time pass a lot easier anyway. I don't wanna go.